gay person who now says he is not gay and has seen the error of his ways, and also is
That's pretty funny. He's talking about Milo. He's a formerly an extremely gay person.
Is a deep enough Christian that he believes that Donald Trump sucks the boots of the Jewish powers. So that's one person that Ye, who said he was not anti-Semitic, but is anti.
I'm not gonna lie, I agree with that assessment from Ben.
That Ye is associating with. The other one is Fuentes, and again, we'll play like one clip of Fuentes just so that people know who we are talking about. One of the most despicable voices in American public life.
If I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. Certainly, oh, no. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there.
He can't stop himself. This is it. Nick Fuentes, this is the reason why it is, this is the reason why it's like, he is too much of a brand risk even for the National Republican Party, because Nick Fuentes cannot stop himself from denying the Holocaust. That's it. You fucking deny the Holocaust, it's a wrap. It's like such a telltale sign. Okay? It's such a fucking telltale sign that someone is just a straight up fascist.
I don't think you'd.
So he's a Holocaust denier, and he's a white supremacist, and he's talked about, for example, how much segregated fountains were not bad for black people. Segregation was better for American society. He has suggested that he wants a full Catholic theocracy in the United States. Now, he's half troll. When I say half troll, I mean like 3/4 troll. That's what Fuentes does. That's his game here. But bottom line is that Ye shows up to Mar-a-Lago to meet with Trump, and he brings with him Nick Fuentes, and then Ye reported on this meeting on his Twitter feed in a debrief with aforementioned Yiannopoulos, who's standing there listening to him. We'll put it that way.
Trump was most perturbed about me asking him to be my vice president. I think that was like lower on the list of things that caught him off guard. It was the fact that I walked in with intelligence. So Trump is really impressed with Nick Fuentes. And Nick Fuentes...
No, guys, listen to what Ben is saying, okay? He's not saying Nick Fuentes is trolling. He's saying like Nick Fuentes likes trolling to obfuscate from his actual opinion. Ben Shapiro is not exactly the #1 fan of the alt-right. He's not he doesn't mind the alt-right, you know, the group of individuals that are pretty close to the alt-right but won't say Jews are responsible for everything. Okay? Like, but when he talks about Nick Fuentes trolling, he's talking about like how Nick is trolling to hide his true opinions, okay? Like, that's what he's saying.
Unlike so many of the lawyers and so many people that he was left with on his 2020 campaign, he's actually a loyalist. When he didn't know what the lawyers is, you'll still have your lawyer list. And when all the lawyers...
That's how you know these motherfuckers are such sycophants, bro. Like, that's not even a good bar, dude. Shut the fuck up. Stop saying bars. Stop. Like, imagine having to fucking deal with Kanye West all day, every day, and then he just has to turn around and constantly fucking like add a couple quick like rap lines in there in the middle of his conversation.
Said, forget it. Trump's done. There are loyalists running up in the White House, right? And my question would be,
what is this, by the way? Why did they post this? Like, talking about Nick Fuentes, and then like there is this fucking there's an interracial couple that is a mixed race couple that is with a mixed race baby, but they're wearing a Trump hat. Like, what is that? What the fuck was that? Like, why the fuck? This is the Proud Boy from Hawaii. Oh, like I don't understand why. I don't understand why they posted this. Like, Ye posted this part when he's talking about Nick Fuentes, because like Nick Fuentes is literally a fucking Nazi who has in the past said that a white woman having sex with a black man is akin to a white woman having sex with a dog. He has compared miscegenation to bestiality. Okay.
Why, when you had the chance, did you not free the January Sixers?
Okay, so this is obviously nutty stuff. And what's happening here is that a bipolar manic depressive, Kanye West, who...
Yeah, notice how Ben fucking flipped the switch on Kanye West's mania so quick. He loved it when Kanye was like hanging out with Clandis. And you know, right up until the moment that Kanye started talking about fucking anti-Semitic nonsense, Ben was so on board. Remember when he did that original video where he was like, yeah, Kanye West, like, yeah, he does have like some level of mental illness, but also, you know, he's saying a lot of sane things. And I think we need to focus on that. Okay. It's not, his conservatism is not linked to his mental illness. Okay. Huh. I'm not going to lie, dude. It is kind of funny watching him squirm. He's like, man, Ben's having his, why do all these homosexual men keep sucking my dick moment right now? He's like, it's so crazy. You know what I mean? Like, everywhere I go, these homosexual men keep taking their dicks out and I keep sucking them. And then they suck me. It's crazy, hypothetically. Why is this happening? I'm a straight man, hypothetically. That's what he's doing. Like, why are all these Republican right-wingers who are clearly not mentally all there, why are they anti-Semitic, hypothetically? I don't understand it. Why? Why would that? Why would that happen, Ben? That's so strange, dude.
Who is experiencing a manic high right now and has been spewing anti-Semitism for weeks, open anti-Semitism for weeks, went to meet with Trump. And Trump put out a statement in which he essentially said, I was meeting with my friend Ye, and he brought along this person who I didn't know. He said, Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, was asking me for advice concerning some of his difficulties, in particular having to do with his business. We also discussed to a lesser extent politics, where I told him he should definitely not run for president. Any voters that you may have should vote for Trump. Anyway, we got along great. He expressed no anti-Semitism, and I appreciated all of the nice things he said about me on Tucker Carlson. Why wouldn't I agree to meet? Also, I didn't know Nick Fuentes. So, first of all, the reason you wouldn't agree to meet, presumably, is because unless you're going to have a real sit-down with Ye, and you will inform him that perhaps you should not be spewing the vilest anti-Semitism this side of Louis Farrakhan, that perhaps you shouldn't sit down with the vile the vile anti-Semite you do know, because he might bring along the vile anti-Semite you don't know. And so, Trump shouldn't have had this dinner, obviously.
Yeah, why are there anti-Semitic racists in my white supremacist party? It's so strange.
It's gross that he did. It's gross that he was sitting with Fuentes. That's bad betting work by his team, presumably, to even have Fuentes in the building with the former president of the United States. And Trump is taking it on the chin politically, as he should be taking it on the chin politically when you sit down at dinner with Ye West, who's in the middle of a mental breakdown, and his buddy, the white supremacist Fuentes, right? Like, Trump's taking heat for that. And Trump correctly is saying, I didn't know Fuentes. I didn't want any piece of Fuentes. I didn't know who this guy was. I don't want any part of him. All right, fair enough. So that's essentially the controversy over the weekend. Now, I will say, so then Ye decided for some odd reason that he was going to go on Twitter and come after me, right? Because I pointed out that probably you shouldn't have dinner with the vile anti-Semite that you do know, in this case, Ye, who's been putting together the Avengers of Eagle's Nest over here with Milo and Fuentes. That when I point that out, apparently this made...
I can't believe I'm agreeing with Ben Shapiro, man. That's crazy. Would you vote for Kanye 2024? No. Why the fuck would I do that? Oh, no, Ben. Oh, no, Ben. Come on, dude. No.
Ye, angry enough to... It looks like he handed over his Twitter account to Fuentes. When I say it looks like that, I mean he openly admits it in one of the tweets that he hands over his Twitter account. Fine, whatever. And he suggested that the reason that I have been criticizing him for anti-Semitism is because the email list that we have here at Daily Wire is rented out by his political opponents, like Ron DeSantis. Okay, well, Trump has rented the email list over here. The RNC has rented this is how email lists work in politics. Okay, but bottom line is that he suggested that I'm trashing him. And as I say, I have not trashed Ye. Ye has trashed himself. He has decided it's not the fault of the Jews. It's not the space laser. It's not the shadowy evil cabal of Zionists on Friday nights. The person who trashed Ye was Ye. And when you surround yourself with Milo, and when you surround yourself with Nick Fuentes, it's going to be hard to avoid the perception that you're creating the Avengers of anti-Semitism over here with the full like Thanos glove. He's picking up all the jewels in the Thanos glove. So that is where things currently stand. Now, I will say this. The left, of course, is acting extraordinarily exercised over this, and some of that is called for, obviously. But I'm not going to hear that from Al Sharpton. So Al Sharpton went on the air and was ripping into Trump for associating with Fuentes. Al Sharpton does not get to talk about any of this stuff. Al Sharpton is a vile anti-Semite. Al Sharpton was heavily involved in anti-Semitism surrounding the actual riots in Crown Heights in 1991 that ended with the murder of an Orthodox Jew. Al Sharpton was involved in inciting.
Bro, he has, it almost feels like he has more words for Al fucking Sharpton than he does for Nick Fuentes. Like, he's like, Nick Fuentes, he's a troll. He's a Holocaust denier. Let's move on. Now, let's talk about the real villain of the story. Al Sharpton. What the fuck? What is happening right now?
Actual violence against a place called Freddy's Fashion Mart in the 90s that ended with an arson that killed a couple of people. Like, Al Sharpton is a horrible anti-Semitic force in American public life. He's one of the worst people in American public life. The fact that the left trots him out to talk about anti-Semitism is absurd. It's almost as absurd as when Mehdi Hassan decided to trot out Ilhan Omar to talk about anti-Semitism.
Oh, shit. Oh, he's coming after. He had to do it to him. You know. You know he had to fucking bring Ilhan Omar and Mehdi Hassan to the fucking conversation.
But the left has no standards at all on this sort of stuff. It's really amazing.
Are you saying that this man's running for president again and doesn't screen who he allows to come to the dinner table? That is against all protocol of Secret Service. For nothing other than security, they know who's coming. He knew who he was meeting with. He knew.
He could not fucking. Oh, that's funny. Woke Sigma memes. Matt Walsh, the type of guy to wiggle his finger and say, "Don't mind if I do," when he sees a minor by themselves. Love that. That's a good one. Okay. Of course, always a retweet for some Matt Walsh slander on the timeline. Of course, allegedly, and a joke. Except, you know, you've heard his words about it. Yeah, Ben did his due diligence of like, you know, covering Kanye's anti-Semitism and Nick Fuentes for like 4 minutes. And like the entire time, he's like so painfully just covering it piece by piece. But he has to turn it around. He has to say that like this is a both sides issue. He has to somehow bring this back to the left. Okay. He did the bare minimum. He did the bare minimum, and immediately had to be like, but the real anti-Semite is Al Sharpton.
The background, and now he's trying to, in many ways, do the Michael Jackson moonwalk when it does not apply.
For the record, like, I don't even like Al Sharpton. He's just a lib. Okay? He's just like, yeah, okay. Al Sharpton, 30 years ago, said anti-Semitic shit. Okay, fine. I mean, he's also still a liberal now. Okay? Like, ultimately, the idea that, like, you could equate Al Sharpton to fucking Al Sharpton 30 years ago, 30 years and 300 pounds ago, to like fucking Nick Fuentes now meeting with the president, insane. That's a different person. You know what I mean?
Has Secret Service. So they're saying Secret Service did not have a list of who was coming to dinner?
Really? So now Al Sharpton is very upset with people associating with anti-Semites, which is very difficult for Al Sharpton because he presumably has a mirror in his house. So that is a little bit awkward. Bottom line on all of this is the willingness to traffic with the anti-Semites is apparently great on a lot of sides of the aisle. And that is really ugly right now. And just on a political level, put aside all of the actual morality of this for just a moment, if you can. On a political level, if you are a Republican and you're looking at a man who has just declared that he wishes to run for the presidency again in 2024 in Donald Trump, and you do not have a staff capable of surrounding you with people who are not white supremacists, is this where?
I gotta say, it is kind of odd that he immediately went after a black leftist, Ilhan Omar, and a black liberal, Al Sharpton, to talk about anti-Semitism. Like, what? There aren't other anti-Semites, dude? Like, he had to pick and choose, okay? Which, by the way, Ilhan Omar, not an anti-Semite. I will stand by that. Can't speak for Al Sharpton now. I can't speak for Al Sharpton back then. And Mehdi Hassan, too, who, of course, I mean, he didn't really say Mehdi Hassan is the bad guy or an anti-Semite there, but kind of alluded to it a little bit.
The Republican base wants to fight its battles going into 2024? Just on a political level, does it seem like somebody who's exercising common sense and any level of forethought in regard to his activities? Because Trump's Truth Social feed today has been entirely consumed by two things. One, the special prosecutor has been appointed to go after him, which we've talked about and I think is ridiculous. And two, this. Is that where Republicans wish to fight their battles for the next couple of years? It's not working out well for them. And meanwhile, we have some news over in that Georgia Senate race. Listen, we need Herschel Walker in the Senate if you're a Republican, because that changes the margin of minority from 1 vote to 2 votes if Herschel Walker is not in the Senate. And that is a real problem, because what you want to be able to do is peel off, say, Kyrsten Sinema or Joe Manchin to prevent the worst excesses of the Democrats in the Senate. With that said, the early voting in Georgia is really ugly right now. And again, that is the result of bad candidate picking. President Trump endorsed Herschel Walker in the primaries. And right now, because so many Republican candidates who should have won lost, basically a lot of Republicans are not showing up to vote,
a little bit
in
more,
the early
just
voting.
like,
right now, the early voting results are not particularly good. According to John Colin, who reports on this sort of stuff, there have been 182,000 total early votes. And the black-white split is 46% to 38%. Now, on a population level, black voters tend to vote Democrat more often than white voters do. So the fact that a plurality of the vote in Georgia is the black vote and the early vote obviously does not bode well for the Republican candidate in that particular race. Alrighty, guys, the rest of the show is continuing right now. You're not going to want to miss it.
Republicans shitting on the less centrist candidates in their party. They're just doing lib shit now. No, I don't think they give a fuck. Ron DeSantis is not a fucking centrist and they love him. No, they just understand that Herschel Walker is just demonstrably a bad candidate. He's a bad candidate for Georgia. He's not necessarily a bad candidate for like maybe Alabama or something, but he is a bad candidate for Georgia. He's a bad candidate for contemporary Georgia right now. Okay? You got a fucking place where Marjorie Taylor Greene is not running for statewide office. Marjorie Taylor Greene would not win statewide office in the state of Georgia. Georgia's demographics have changed dramatically. And it's not just, the black vote, as Ben is talking about. Okay? Georgia's demographics have changed. There's like a lot of kind of center-right, moderate Republicans there. And then also a lot of Democratic voters. Okay? And then you got Atlanta, obviously. But other than that, like Marjorie Taylor Greene is a red stronghold in the middle. but it's not necessarily enough. It's nowhere near enough to win statewide office. Okay? That's precisely the reason why. Didn't Herschel Walker got 200,000 less votes? Herschel Walker got 200,000 less votes than Brian Kemp. Y'all are fucking nuts. There are literally like a not insignificant amount of people who voted for Brian Kemp and then turned around and voted for Raphael Warnock. Okay? That's insane. As a consequence of like a lot of Hollywood productions moving to Atlanta, as a consequence of a lot of people just moving to Georgia in general, okay? For one reason or the other, Georgia's demographics have changed. Higher levels of education, higher levels of higher education, and non-white demographics in Georgia have changed Georgia from a red state to a purple one, which is why you get these kinds of results, which is why putting forward a guy, maybe back in the day, you got a guy who's a Georgia Bulldog, okay? He's a legend. You run him like you're running an Alabama candidate, and he could have been fine. It's no longer the case. Okay? 10 years ago even, yes, you're right. But you can't do that anymore. That only works for incredibly red states, okay? That only works for incredibly red states, not a purple red state. A big reason for the demographics changing is more people attending SCAD and the gentrification of Savannah for more students. Herschel Walker tanked every single team he ever played for. It doesn't matter, man. He was a fucking bulldog. That, like in the South especially, in places where they do not have like super serious, in the South, in places where they don't have their own professional NFL team or like a really good NFL team, college football is life. College football is a religion. Okay? That's why if you got a fucking candidate like the Republicans run in the South in like Alabama, you can have, what do you mean wrong? What the fuck how can you say wrong to that? That is one of the most, like, I am not a, look, I'm not a fucking, I'm not a big sports Andy by any means. You know this. But I've traveled, okay? I've seen this country all up and down the East Coast, all the way down to the South. I know what it's like. College football is more significant for places like Atlanta, especially, than anything else. Tommy Tuberville is a great example of this. Exactly. Nick Saban could win public office because of Alabama. Oh, 100%. Nick Saban could win any statewide office that he wants. Any. Like, that's not even 100 million%. Incorrect. The Falcons are not so bad. In weak states like Alabama, they love college because none of them go. Atlanta has an NFL team. I mean, yeah, but their college team is really important to them. That's why I said not the best. Walker actually has a small disadvantage because he has a big reason for the Cowboys being good in the 90s and everyone hates the Cowboys. Absolute banger take regarding Shabibo's attitude towards people like Nick and Milo. Literally your take, but funnier. Ben Shapiro. So I moved to Bigotsville and bought a house on Bigot Drive and joined the local bigot association and the Society for Advancement of Bigots and put down a lawn jockey. And now I have to ask, where did all these bigots come from? It's weird. Anyway, Ben's being targeted by anti-Semites, and I wonder if he's tried to reach out and explore how much common ground he has with them. Yeah. University of Georgia is undefeated and considered number 1 in the country by polls. Atlanta Falcons